Okay, I'm going to show you how to do an offset slouch hat. Okay, where the brim is offset. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working with our 120 peg loom. And we're going to be starting off with 88 stitches. Okay. And what that means is you're going to be counting over, I believe it's 22, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So yeah, you have 22 on every side equally. And what you want to do is you can choose to cast on whatever way you want. Okay, so if you want to do the double wrap, you can. I'm just going to use a worsted weight yarn here. And I'm going to use a nice red color. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to cast on all 88 pegs. Okay. And then what our goal is we're going to be doing a series of short rows and we're dividing it by a third. So once you cast on, we're only going to do like 5 rows of a seed stitch, and then we'll start a short row series. Alright, and you want to be able to increase out to all your pegs, so you want to be able to go out to the full max out of 104. Alright, so what you want to do, go ahead and cast on, and then we'll come back and we'll get started, and then we will do the challenging part. Now the most challenging part of this hat is the base of it, the brim of it, because it's short row to offset it to make it off center. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, get your cast on done, and then we'll come back and get started on the brim. Okay, so at this point we're going to start our seed stitch. So we want to knit 1, purl 1 all the way around, and that's row 1 of a 2-row set. So knit 1, purl 1 all the way around. So pause the video, complete this row, and then when I come back, I'll show you how to start the second row of a 2-row repeat. We're going to be doing a seed stitch. If you already know what a seed stitch is, we're going to be doing it a number of 5 rows, and then we're going to be starting a short row series. Now, you're going to see in the written pattern, and you're going to notice I'm going to go from a flat knit, and then when I get started on the upper section here, you're going to notice that I'm going to actually do an E-wrap, and that's after I do my increases. And the reason I'm doing this is I want it to have more a fuller look at the top of the hat. And so E-wrapping, because we're going to be doing a fisherman rib, E-wrapping is going to make it larger and more dramatic along with our increased section. Okay, so keep that in mind. That is coming up, but go ahead and get this row done, and then we will come back and do our second row of this set, and you're going to do 5 rows if you already know how to do a seed stitch. Okay, we're starting with our second row set, which is, what you want to start with is purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. You want to do that all the way around, and then what you want to do is you want to repeat this 2-row set for a total of 5 rows, and then what we're going to do is start a short row series. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your 5 rows, and we'll come back and I will move on to the short rows. Okay, I finished my rows, and now you see I have a whole bunch of stitch markers and everything set up, and here's how I did it. Alright, we're going to be working flat and doing a series of short rows while keeping up with our seed stitch. What fun, right? Alright, so what you want to do to get you started on setting up your markers because what your marker is going to represent is a wrap and turn. Now, your wrap and turns are not going to show up consecutively right beside each other. It's going to be every other peg is a wrap and turn when you short row. Okay, so we don't want it starting right on top of here. We want to kind of be able to have it more gradual, and we need to have it more towards the center of the hat, okay? So what you want to do is you want to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place a stitch marker on the 6th peg. Okay, then you want to set a stitch marker on every other peg for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you're going to set it up for a total of 14 stitches on every other peg on this side. You're going to repeat the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, placing a stitch marker on the 6th peg, and then placing a stitch marker on every other peg after that for a total of 14. And what that'll do is stop you just before your wedge pegs over here. Okay, so once you do that, that's when you'll want to start setting up for your short rows. Okay, so you'll be starting off, go ahead and set up your stitch markers, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to start doing your short rows. Okay, because it was 5 rows, our last stitch should have been a knit, so we know we're going to be starting off with a purl. So what you want to do is, and this is going to seem a little strange, is you're going to purl, knit, okay, all the way around to here, okay. We're not doing it this way, which I know is going to be a little strange to you, okay. So you're going to purl knit all the way around, and you're going to stop just before the stitch marker here, alright. So, because we're going to wrap and turn this peg here, which has this stitch marker. So, go ahead, pause the video, purl knit all the way around, and stop just before the stitch marker. So stop right here on this peg, alright, because we're going to wrap and turn that one. And if you have the idea of what we're doing, you got to keep up with your seed stitch, and you're going to go all the way around and wrap this one, then all the way around and wrap this one, not this one, this one, all the way around, wrap this one. So if you think you've got this idea, go ahead and pause the video and get yourself to where you have these wrapped and turned over here, and then when you come back to the video, we'll start from there, okay? But for those who are not quite sure what I'm fixing to do, purl knit to the stitch before your last stitch marker, and then I'll show you what comes in. Okay, I'm going to show you what my last one, I did a purl here. So I know I did a knit here, and because we're doing the seed stitch, we're keeping up with that. When we do our wrap and turn on that stitch marker, we know we're going to be starting with a purl, because we finished with that knit, okay, purl knit, all the way around, till you get to just before this stitch marker here, because you're going to wrap and turn it, okay? So pause video and work your way around to here, and then we'll be wrapping and turning the knit stitch marker, and then you're going to be doing this same concept. We're going to be coming around, stopping just before the last stitch marker and wrapping and turning, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, get yourself all the way around to here,
and I'll show you what the next step is on this. Okay, I finished with a purl on this one, and I will be knitting this one that's just before our last stitch marker here. And then what I'm going to do is wrap and turn. Now, because my last one was a knit, I'm going to be starting with a purl. You're going to be repeating this concept where you go and you'll do a purl knit all the way around, stop just before your stitch marker. Remember what that stitch is, and by the way, it should be the same as we've been doing. Alright, so it'll probably end up being a knit, so that when you wrap and turn your stitch marker, it'll start with a purl. It should work the same way over here, and that should actually simplify it, making it every other peg, so that you know you're going to be knitting that stitch before your wrap and turn, so that you know you're going to start with a purl. So go ahead and repeat this concept of wrapping and turning and working your way back and forth until you have a wrap and turn on every single peg that has a stitch marker. And then you're going to stop there, and then we're going to come in and we're going to start trying to work up an increase on all 4 pegs a couple of times, and we'll be able to take off the stitch markers after that point. But go ahead and pause the video, get every peg with a stitch marker wrapped and turned, continuing the process of the seed stitch. Okay, so it's most likely going to be a knit before the wrap and turn, so you're going to start with a purl after you wrap and turn. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, get all your stitch markers wrapped and turned, and we'll come back and continue on with that. Okay, I have completed my short rows. As you can see, it gets progressively longer on the other half of the loom, and you can see there's a wrap and turn, single stitch, wrap and turn, single stitch, wrap and turn. On every single stitch marker peg there is a wrap and turn, and it works that way on the other side as well. See, wrap and turn every other peg. Okay, and I ended up being stopped right over here because this should have been my last wrap and turn, and I worked my way over. Okay, at this point we need to work all these stitches back to 1 stitch on our wrap and turn pegs, and we need to increase on a row after that. Okay, so what we want to do is go in, and our last stitch here was a knit. We're going to continue this stitch patterning so that it's not obvious, the transition. So you're going to purl and take the stitch marker off. Okay, so knit and purl, and as I purl, I'm taking the stitch markers off because I'm not going to need them at this point. So knit and purl, and you're going to do that all the way to your starting point. Okay, and you're going to continue this process, and you're going to go on all the way over to here and work those in, and then come all the way back around. Okay, so as you come all the way around here, it'll change, and it looks like you'll be starting with a knit purl, and you're going to knit purl your way around once you get to here. Okay, so go ahead and get all your stitches back to 1, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to do an increase and start working our fisherman rib stitch at the top of the hat. Okay, because we're going to do a couple increases before we start that. As you can see, I've reached my starting point, and I haven't taken those off yet. I'm going to be starting with a knit
and a purl. Okay, because I'm still trying to keep up with my seed stitch, and I'm working back in the round again rather than flat. Okay, so there is my first stitch marker. I purl the 2 stitches together, take the stitch marker off, place it back, knit, purl the 2 together, take the stitch marker off. Alright, now work these wrap and turn pegs back in, and then work your way all the way to here, continuing the knit purl patterning. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to start the fisherman rib and do an increase, okay? Pause the video, get that much done. Okay, I'm now back to square one, and now I'm going to be switching to a seed stitch to a fisherman rib, and we're going to be switching from doing a flat knit to an E-wrap, okay? So what you want to do is you want to E-wrap the first peg and purl the second peg, and you want to do this until you are ready to get over to the wedges, and then you're going to have an increase, and I'll show you how to do that. So you're going to E-wrap and purl your way over, and you've purled your last one, so you're ready to go in and do an increase, and you're going to bring that previous stitch back. You're going to E-wrap it, and you're going to place that stitch back, and then you're going to move this over one, and then you're going to purl that stitch. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of an unusual increase, right? And then you're going to E-wrap, okay, and then you're going to pull back the previous stitch, E-wrap, move the stitch over, and then you're going to purl. Alright, and then what you want to do is loosen the washer, pull the wedge out, then you want to place the stitch you created here and the stitch you created here. And the reason why we're changing from a flat knit to an E-wrap is we are going in and creating more of a puff at the top rather than it just being form fitted. Okay, so that's the reason why we're going to end up doing 2 increases, and then we'll be doing an E-wrap purl so that it has more of a puffy top to it rather than it just form fitting to the head. Okay, and adding the E-wrap, it makes it bigger as well, so without having to do a whole heck of a lot. Alright, so what we want to do at this point is, okay, sorry, this last one should have been an E-wrap rather than a purl. So E-wrap, and then purl. So you're going to E-wrap, purl all the way over. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pull back that first stitch. We're going to E-wrap, place it back. Then we're going to move that stitch we just created over to the previous peg. Then we're going to purl. Okay. And then we're going to E-wrap. Alright. And then we're going to pull the previous stitch back. We're going to E-wrap it. Then we're going to move it to the previous peg. And then we're going to E-wrap this, or we're going to knit it. Okay. Then we're going to place and pull the washer down one. Then you're going to move the stitches you created over to those pegs. And you've now done an increase. Alright. And you're going to do this again on all the other 2 wedges. So go ahead and pause the video and do your increase, and then when we come back I'll show you what the next row is, and we're going to end up doing at least one more increase. So get your way, work around here, and then I'll show you the next row, and then we'll go from there. Okay, at this point I have worked my way around, I'll have increased, and now we need to do a regular row. Now we're not going to really be starting the official fisherman rib until we get our increases done, but what we want to do is kind of get the stitch pattern look started. So basically we're going to continue with our 1-by-1 rib stitching until we have our increases done, and we're only going to be doing 2 increases. So what you want to do, this is our row between our increases. We're going to E-wrap 1 and purl 1 all the way around, and yes, on your increase pegs they should be working out just like they're supposed to. E-wrap 1, purl 1 all the way around, and then we'll be ready to increase again, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, so E-wrap 1, purl 1 all the way around, and then I'll show you how to do another row of increase. Okay, we worked our way around. We're now ready to do another increase. So what we want to do is we want to E-wrap 1, purl 1 until we get to our first wedge, and then we are going to do another increase, and this will be a little different than the first increase, but not by much. You're just trying to continue with the stitch pattern as much as possible when increasing, okay? Okay, and then we E-wrap. Alright. Place your working yarn in the middle. Okay, and what we want to do is, granted this is a purl, we're going to pull that purl center over, E-wrap. We're going to place it back. Make sure your original stitch doesn't go flying back over there. Okay, and then we're going to pull the stitch we just made, which can sometimes give you some fun. You're going to pull that stitch you just made and put it onto the previous peg. Okay, and then you can snug it up. Okay, so you know that that was a E-wrap. This is an increase, and what you've got here is you're going to purl, and then you're going to E-wrap. Then you're going to take a center purl, even if it's what you normally purl, you're going to take that, you're going to pull it back, you're going to E-wrap, then you're going to place that stitch back, right, then you're going to move the stitch over one, and then because you know that's a purl, you're going to purl it. Alright, at this point you're going to take and move the wedge down one more. Then you're going to move this stitch that you created over here over one, and this stitch you created over here over one. Okay, and you'll have just increased one more. Okay, so at this point you want to follow the patterning that you've been doing. So you're going to E-wrap and purl your way over to the next wedge. So E-wrap, and I'll show you how to do the next wedge, and purl your way over. Okay, and then we have E-wrap, and then what we want to do is pull that previous purl-like stitch back, E-wrap, make sure the original stitch stays down, place the stitch you just created onto the previous peg. Then what you want to do is purl that and E-wrap. And you're going to purl, pull that previous purl stitch back, which might be the inside of the stitch. Then you're going to place it back, pull that stitch over, and then you're going to purl that peg. Then you're going to go in and you're going to pull the wedge down one more time. Take those stitches you just created and move them to those empty slots. You're going to do that all the way around, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to start our next row, and then we'll be able to, so you're going to do that in this wedge and this wedge, and then when we come back, we're going to be starting our fisherman rib and how to go about doing that so it starts popping. But right now we've just been doing a basic rib to get through this. Okay, at this point what you want to do is, we've worked our way around, and what you want to do is you want to E-wrap one and purl one all the way around, and then we will be ready to start the fisherman rib. Okay, and it'll be a 2-row set, the fisherman rib will. Alright, so go ahead, pause the video, get this row done where you E-wrap one, purl one. What you'll notice is your wedge pegs will change up, but nothing else changes up. Okay, which is why we kind of do this early. Alright, so E-wrap one, purl one, over to the wedge, and I'll show you how it changes up. One, purl one, E-wrap. Okay, and here's your increase, so you're going to purl one. So after you purl one, then you're going to E-wrap, and normally this one's been being purled, but that's okay. The only thing that changes are your ribs, wedge pegs. Okay, and then you're going to purl the next one, which was normally E-wrapped. That's okay. And then you're going to E-wrap your increase over here, and then you're right back on target. So the only thing that changes are your wedge pegs. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and work your way around, and then what we'll do is we'll start doing our second row of our 2-row set for the fisherman rib, and we'll be learning about the slip stitch that'll happen so that your E-wrap pegs look a little bit more enhanced. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete this row. When we come back, I'll show you how to start doing the fisherman rib. This is the first row of the fisherman rib. I'll show you the second row of the fisherman rib. Okay, at this point, this is the second row of our fisherman rib, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be slipping every E-wrap peg and purling every peg you normally purl. So we normally start with an E-wrap, we're going to slip, and what that slip is, we're going to be going behind the peg. Then we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to purl the stitch. You're going to slip from behind the next peg, and you're going to purl. You're going to slip behind, and you're going to purl. You're going to do this all the way around. Alright, and this is your second row set of a fisherman rib. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, and what you will want to do is you will want to continue this 2-row set for, let's find my notes. Here we go. You want to do the fisherman rib We have finished our 40 rows. We're ready to start decreasing for the crown. And what you want to do is keep in mind whatever you're doing on those wedge pegs. When you go to decrease down, you'll continue what you are doing on the wedge pegs. So it should have been an E-wrap and a purl. And we're not really going to be continuing the Fisherman rib. We're just going to be moving to a single 1x1 rib to do the crown of the hat, okay? But make sure you got to keep in mind that whatever you're doing on those wedge pegs, you're going to continue doing, which should be an E-wrap 1, purl 1, which means you're probably going to be doing 2 E-wraps and 2 purls around the wedge pegs in order to decrease your crown. Okay, so you have moved your stitches to there and decrease down 1. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a row of ribbing, and then you're going to do a regular row. Okay, so decrease row and a regular row for your crown all the way down to a total of 24 stitches. All right, and that will complete how to do the crown area. Okay, so I'm moving those over, and I'm going to keep in mind that I'm going to be working my way over, and I'm going to E-wrap 2 and purl 2 on these decrease pegs. Alright, so I'm going to start with an E-wrap, and then purl 1, E-wrap, and purl over to your wedge peg. Okay, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be E-wrapping 2 here. So you're going to E-wrap, and then you're going to E-wrap the 2 together. E-wrap the 2 together. Then you're going to purl the 2 together. Alright? And then you're going to purl 1. Alright, that's how you do the wedge areas. Then you'll go right back to E-wrap 1, purl 1. Okay. So E-wrap, purl. Keep in mind you'll be E-wrapping twice over here and purling twice over here, and then go back to your stitch patterning. Your wedge pegs are your only weird area, but whatever you're doing on them, you're going to continue to do that patterning of E-wrap 1, purl 1, no matter what. Alright, even if you're decreasing or not decreasing, you're always going to be doing an E-wrap 1, purl 1. Everything else in here stays the same. Okay? So pause the video, complete that row, and we'll come back and we'll do the next row, and then I'll show you about 4 rows, because what this will do is this will be off 1, and then when you decrease again, you'll be back to doing a normal feel for it, where it's a E-wrap 1, purl 1 all the way around without having to have the E-wrap 2, purl 2. So that's only going to happen for every first and second, and then your third and fourth rows will be normal. Okay, we've made it back around. Now we're going to start our second row. So I guess you could say this is a 4-row repeat. Alright, so we're going to E-wrap 1, purl 1 over to our wedge pegs. Okay, we're going to be E-wrapping 2, keep that in mind. We've offset the pattern with our first decrease. We're going to purl 2. That's on every single wedge. Okay, then we're going to go back to E-wrap 1, purl 1. Alright, so pause the video, complete this row, and then our next row will be a decrease, and I'll show you how that's done. So this is going to be a 4-row repeat in order to complete your crown area, and then I'll show you the next 2 rows, and then I'm going to leave you to finish up your crown, and then we'll do a bind off. Okay, we're to the next section, which is our row 3 of a 4-row set and decreasing our crown. Move your wedge in by 1 slot. Take your outside straggling stitches and move them over. Okay, and you're going to do that all the way around, and then once you do that, you're going to start with your E-wrap peg as normal and purl over to your wedge peg. And this one shouldn't be so abnormal because you should be going back to what you would normally do. Okay, so because we're getting over to our wedge peg, so we've E-wrapped, and then we purl, and then we're going to E-wrap 2 together and then purl 2 together. So E-wrap the 2 together, then purl the 2 together, and then continue E-wrap. So this is row 3 of a 4-row set. Pause the video, decrease all your wedges, work your way around, and then we're going to do 1 more row, working our way around, and then you're going to continue this process of decreasing down until you're down to 24 stitches. Okay, so this is row 3 of a 4-row set. So complete this row, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to go about doing the 4th row of the 4-row set. Then I'm going to leave you to finish the crown. Okay, at this rate, this is your 4th row set. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to E-wrap 1, purl 1, all the way around. So there's no weird patterning over by your wedges at this point. It's back to normal. Okay, so you're going to E-wrap 1, purl 1 all the way around, and then you're going to repeat the decrease and do, when you get to the wedge, then you'll be doing the E-wrap 2, purl 2. Alright, but this is your 4th row set. So the 4th row on your set, purl, and then E-wrap, and purl. And then E-wrap. Okay, so that completes your 4-row set. This is a 4th row, 4-row set. And what you want to do is you want to repeat these /4 rows with your wedging concept every time you move it down 1. And you want to decrease your way down to 24 stitches, and then when we come back, I'll show you how to finish drawstringing, and then we'll make us a nice large pom-pom to put on top of the head, and that is about it with this one. Okay, so go ahead and finish the crown up, and I'll show you how to bind off. Okay, as you can see, I've completed that, and there's your decrease right there, nice and clean. Okay, now we want to drawstring off, and what we're going to do is we're going to take all the purl stitches off first. So we're going to be skipping that first peg. Going to toss that bottom loop over our tail that's cut. We're going to pull our tail through, and we're tossing all the purl stitches over. Okay. Okay. That's one of my purls. Then I'm going to skip my first peg and take off all my E-wrap stitches. So I'm going to skip that first one. And now I'm going to toss the bottom loop over and pull the tail through all the rest of the stitches. And our last one. Okay. Now, what I like to do is take my last one, look at what the string is to pull above it. There's my long one. I know to pull that first, then I know to pull that. Alright. And now we have our off-center hat. I gotta close off the top. Okay. And then we want to add a pom-pom on. And I'll show you how to go about making a pom-pom for that. But that is an off-center hat with a nice finished top. And you'll need to weave in your ends and that kind of thing. Okay? Now, we want to do a pom-pom for the top. And so what we want to do is we want to take a notebook of some sort, and we want it fairly large, so we're going to do this around and around and around for a good amount. Okay, I'd say you want to wrap it around 50, 60 times. And cut the end off. Try to keep it as even as possible. Cut you a short tail. You're going to tie it in the middle, and you're going to tie it pretty tight. Okay. At this point, you're going to go in, and then we'll need to shape it. And what I like to do is go in, shape it out fairly smoothly. That's a little higher over here, so we need to. Now that's a larger one, but if you want it to be even shorter than that, you can cut it down some more. Cut down to where you like it. And when you get it to the way you want, just attach it to the hat. Okay? And you're done.